Powers of 10 are special numbers that help us portray extremely large or extremely small numbers. At the end of this lesson, you'll see kind of the base of where they came from, as well as an example in the real world and how we use it. Powers of 10 are any positive integer multiplied by 10. So a positive number that can be multiplied by 10 can turn into, here are a couple of examples around the outside here, those are all powers of 10. We're going to also take a look at what it means to be 10 times stronger or 10 times larger in our real life example. If we break it down, I did the family of fives here. So if I do 5 to 50, well, that ends up being times 10. 5 times 10 is 50. So you would end up saying 50 is 10 times larger than 5. 500 then is 10 times larger than 50, and so on and so forth. So to move down a scale, you're multiplying each number by 10. If you were to do the skip then, so what if I wanted to do 5 to 500? There we go. What would that end up being? Well, if you take a look over here, times 10 times 10, or you just will know 5 times what is 500? 10 times 10 is 100. So it works the same way if you skip. The next one would have been times 1,000, since 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. Let's break it down even more. I have my same scale here, multiplying by 10. 5 can then be written as 5 times 1. 50, another way to write it is 5 times 10. 500, 5 times 100, 5 times 1,000, and 5 times 10,000. So all I'm doing is rewriting these numbers into breaking it out so we can see what the family was that we started with, which was 5. In the next screen then, again, we have our 5, 50, 500, and we have the middle screen of what they're multiplied by, but now take a look. This 10 here, as I'm going to write that, let's see, we'll use marker. This 10 then is going to be rewritten as 10 times what? Gives me 10? 10 times 1. 100 then is, in fact, 10 times 10. 1,000? Yep, you've got it. 10 times 10 times 10 right here. And so you'll see with this lesson being powers of 10, I want to pull those out so we can see where those are coming from. Okay, so far we can see that 5,000 can be written as 5 times 1,000, or it could be written as 5 times 10 times 10 times 10, and you should still get 5,000. On this final screen then, we're going to look at what the scientific notation and where that came from. So right here is where we ended up with on the last screen. 5 times 10 times 1. That was this right here. 5 times 10 times 1. This can be written as 5 times 10 to the first power. The next one, 5 times 10 times 10, well, 10 times 10 is the same as 10 squared, or 10 to the second power, which is 100. So 5 times 10 squared is in fact 500. The next one, 5 times 10 times 10 times 10, we said was 5,000. Well, there's our 5. And what is 10 times 10 times 10? Well, 10 to the third power. And finally, the last one right here, we can see 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 5 gives us 5 times 10 to the fourth. So scientific notation is simply pulling out the tens from the original number. These are kind of the base numbers right here. With just a 5, you are able to have more than one number out front, but we won't cover that in this lesson. Here's our real life example. It is earthquakes. The Richter scale runs from 1 to 10, which is what I have written right here. 1 being the least in magnitude, which is the least strong, I guess, and 10 being the greatest. Now, what we're going to see then is it's not just 1 degree higher, it's actually 10 times more. So here's what it says. Say we have a magnitude 1 earthquake on the Richter scale, so we're right here. Compare that with a magnitude 2. The way the Richter scale works, which is only 1 step higher, it's now 10 times more stronger than what it was at the 1. So you now have 10 times more ground shaking than with the magnitude 1 quake. So if we do this from 1 to 3, Here's what that means. If I were to skip from 1 to 3, go back to our first lesson. If this is 10, that's 10, that's 10. Well, what is 10 times 10? Exactly. If I were to go from 1 to 3, that's going to be 100 times stronger. So when you talk about earthquakes, anything moving from one to another is going to be 10 times more on the Richter scale, which is a lot of seismic activity, as they say up here.